Hi there, and welcome back to Mind Body Relationship, where we talk about the mind, the body, and the relationship. Hi, my name is Emerald Hill, and this is Dr. Laurie Hill.
Hello, Emerald. How are you doing today?
I'm doing really good. How are you?
Good, good. Today we're going to be talking about empathy.
Empathy.
Mm-hmm.
It's nice when you have empathy.
It is, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Empathy is when it is you can actually step into somebody else's shoes in order to be able to feel how it is that they're feeling.
Right.
Mm-hmm. It's not about getting lost in the feeling. It's just about being able to acknowledge what it is the other person is going through. Right?
Yeah, it can be as simple as somebody saying, wow, I had a really bad day today, and somebody else saying, wow, that sucks.
So
I get
true.
what you mean, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Whereas sympathy is feeling sorry for the other person.
Oh, you poor thing.
Yeah. Oh, dear. And in relationship, what we actually really need to do is we need to be able to listen to what it is the other person is actually really saying in order to be empathetic, right? So what is the actual real topic of conversation is really the question.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's a really important point. I think that a lot of people get confused when they're in a relationship and their partner comes to them and they're like, I've had a really bad day, or I've run into this conflict, or something happened to me that I don't like. And the other partner, whether it's in a romantic relationship or a friendship or whatever, automatically assumes the role of, I can solve this. Or somebody who's like, oh, I can't solve this. So either they get too invested into the solution or they completely dismiss it. But really what the person is looking for is just yeah, that sucks, but you'll figure it out. I understand.
Yeah. And, I think it is really important to be able to identify what the topic is, right? Mm-hmm. Because as soon as a person says an I statement, and an I is a powerful statement. When you say a statement that starts with I, you are now taking hold of the conversation.
Yes.
It's no longer your conversation.
Right.
So just like what you said, right? I had a bad day. That conversation is actually really yours.
Right.
Right? So the focus, therefore, has to be on you.
Right.
And that is what attunement is. Being tuned into what it is that you're bringing in regards to the topic of conversation.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
An example of lack of empathy is when someone says, I had a really bad day because my boss yelled at me. Somebody not empathizing would be, well, you do have a tendency to be a little bitchy sometimes, so I can understand why your boss would be mad at you. So that would be, if you're looking for a relationship with the person who's complaining, it's really good to be able to say, yeah, I've had a boss that's like that too. Please tell me about your experience. You know what I mean?
Exactly. Being very interested, focusing on the other person, and not coming up with an explanation.
Yeah.
Right? Well, that's because da-da-da-da-da-da. Right? That sort of thing. Mm-hmm. So attunement is actually really being in tune, like when it is that you're playing an instrument. You're playing the same tune. You're actually meeting the tune that's being presented to you.
Right.
Mm-hmm. Yes. And we learn how to do that by our caregivers.
For sure.
Definitely. And, when it is that you're a baby and you're goo-gooing and gagging, and mom then goo-goos and gagas back, the truth is there's an attunement happening. And the baby says, ooh, right? I'm okay.
I'm doing something right.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. But if the baby is goo-gooing and gagging and the mom is, then there's no attunement.
I love it. That's so expressive.
Then there isn't any attunement happening, right? And the baby's like, right? Am I doing the wrong thing?
Yeah.
Right? And vice versa. So it's really, really important to be able to be in tune with whatever it is the other person is bringing.
So a really great thing about empathy is I think that everybody needs empathy. Everybody needs to experience empathy in a relationship. It must be incredibly difficult for a couple who's going through premarital counseling for them to realize that their dynamic is just a little bit off. Not like abusive relationship, not like completely unsolvable, but the fact that the person has to recognize that when their partner is saying, oh, this happened to me, not to immediately instinctually go to let me solve the problem or let me dismiss this, but to actually force themselves to be like, I understand.
Well, actually, you know what? Let's change that up. As opposed to I understand, which also can be a conflict statement. Right? There can be a pushback to that. No, you don't.
Oh, okay.
Right?
Yeah.
You weren't there. You didn't go through that, right?
No idea.
Exactly. Just to be able to, in essence, say, you know, that just like what you said initially, that must have really sucked. That must have been really, really hard. Or that must have been really, really frustrating. It's actually really the emotional statement, which is the connector between two people.
You know what's interesting? I was talking to a couple of friends, and they were saying about how their partner, you know, gets angry at them because they don't take their side. And I said, okay, well, so what do you say? And they're like, well, I said, you know, I and like me. And I said, well, why don't you try to come up with a response that doesn't have you in it? Like, doesn't have me or I or, well, we, you know what I mean? Like, something that's completely not about you, and they couldn't do it.
Wow, that's really tough, right? So when it is that a person says I, they're the holder of the topic, and now it's about them, right? So I start the conversation by saying, I am really feeling not so great. And then the response is, it sounds like you are not feeling so great. Right? So there's a time to use I, right? I'm the holder of the topic. This is about me. And there's a time to use you, which is, it sounds like you are having a very hard time, right? So it's really important to know when it is to use the I and when it is to use the you.
Right.
In order to be in tune with the other person.
Right.
Or else what happens is that when it isn't in tune, it's misattuned. Right? And that can end up in all sorts of conflict, anxious attachment, right? You don't get me, you're not there for me, broken attachment.
Right.
Yeah.
Which isn't an enjoyable attachment in any sense of the word.
Oh, absolutely not, right? No. It causes a great amount of fear. The fear is I'm not in the right place.
Right.
I'm not actually okay, right? And one of the greatest fears is that we don't make sense.
Yeah. Am I crazy?
Exactly.
Is what I'm saying crazy? Is no one else going through this?
Yeah, exactly, right? And so anytime when it is that you trigger one of the greatest fears, right, I don't make sense, then the person starts to defend themselves.
Yeah. Right?
Explain themselves. Keep saying the same thing over and over and over. So it's good just to be able to recognize that.
Yeah. And it's interesting how when they start to defend themselves, all of a sudden the conversation gets to be turned around at you. Well, you said this, and you said that, and you were acting like this, and I was just responding the way that I thought I needed to for you.
Yeah.
It's like, okay.
Yeah, you know, and that's a really great example of a misattunement of when to use the I's and when to use the U's.
Yeah, exactly.
Right? So it's all backwards.
Yeah.
Right? So empathy is really important because without empathy, it gives us permission to do anything, to say anything. When a person hasn't learned to be empathetic, then the truth is that they can cause a lot of damage.
And it's easy to tell when you've run into someone who doesn't understand empathy. Because it's like, oh, you know, you're a problem.
Yeah, that's so true. I mean, it number one is it becomes all about them. Number two is they can cause a huge amount of chaos.
Yeah.
Right? They can pit people against one another, right? Become highly competitive.
Yeah.
Right? And so it's no longer about relationship at all.
No. No, it's really the difference between having like a fun competitive environment where you're trying to better each other and having an environment where they're like you feel like they're trying to make you leave the whole industry or whatever you're in.
Yeah. It's so true, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, it is just good to be able to recognize, right, that you need to surround yourself with people who know how to be empathetic.
Yeah.
Right? And it is actually really something that is learned. And that's really the key, right? So it's important to not only be able to teach empathy,
Right.
But to actually really be open to learning empathy and the process of it. Right? Which is based in how it is that we communicate with one another. Right? Yeah. To learn how to actually care.
And listen. Care and listen.
Care and listen.
Yeah.
That's right. Yeah. Well, for all those relationships out there that actually really need that added help, if you're struggling with communication in your relationship, that is the number one topic item that comes into the therapy office. We need to learn how to communicate. And if you really want to learn how to communicate, well, you know what? Reach out, contact us. Right? And not only do we have the opportunity for you to participate in a counseling experience, but we also have the opportunity for you to participate in a retreat experience.
Right, a couples retreat.
Aha! Yes. So if you wanted to just check out our new website.
Yes, I'll include the links to the Counselling House for couples therapy below, and for the couples retreat, the Portside ART Relational Therapy Institute.
That's right, exactly.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much, Laurie, for talking to me about empathy. I appreciate that. And thank you for tuning in. Please, if you like this video, give this video a like, subscribe, stay subscribed, and tune in next time.
All right. Bye for now.
Bye.